Let's remember who the ruling monarch was at this time. King George III. Very good. King George III. Took power in 1760. So something you should keep in mind. Remember, he was trying to solve the problem of debt. Then we get to 1770. We have something that is labeled a massacre. Maybe that was some propaganda being put there. But what happened in Boston? What happened at the Boston Massacre? Set the scene a little bit. They're in Town Square in Boston. We have a group of British militia. We have a group of colonial, I don't want to say militia, but just of some random people from different colonies. Or maybe from the colony in Massachusetts. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And the colonists begin to be a little bit petty. They begin to start throwing rocks at the British militia. They begin to start pegging them with rocks, almost like stoning them. You need a pencil? How do you take this? And this starts to piss off the British militia to the point in which they draw their weapons and randomly shoot into a crowd and kill 5 colonists. And this is used by the colonists to their advantage. They take this massacre, which really was just a slaying of 5 people, and they blow it up through newspapers throughout the colonies. They make it seem like a much bigger deal than what it really was. And colonies begin to take foothold in the idea of war. People are now getting to the point where, okay, maybe we need to go to war to declare our own independence. This is the beginning origins of discussion of the Revolutionary War. So now we're getting to, you're in 1770. Let's move to 1773. We haven't had any more forms of taxation yet. They're still repealing the Township Act. We had the Boston Massacre that occurred. And we have the Boston Tea Party incident. Boston Tea Party incident was when a group of colonists dressed up as Native Americans boarded a ship in Bay Harbor, Boston, and dumped a bunch of tea from the ship into the Bay Harbor. And this, again, should be, for a lot of you, this should be reviewed from 7th and 8th grade. They dumped the tea into the harbor. British militia knew what was going on. They knew that it was really the colonists, not really no Native Americans. And word gets back to Britain. King George is furious, and he comes down with a new form of taxation called the Intolerable Act. Intolerable in the sense of colonists are being intolerable. They're not following directions. They're being extremely disobedient to the point where it's almost like they're spitting in their face and saying it's rain. And the Intolerable Act was of harsh penalties on the colonies in the form of taxing imports from other countries, taking more money away, taking more liberties away in a harsher sense. Maybe the taxes were more radical. Colonists repeal this. They say it's not just, it's not fair. But not only do they repeal it, they are understanding the times of the moment. They are understanding that things are going in a direction of hostility. Things are going into the form of warfare after the Boston Massacre. So we have the first meeting of the First Continental Congress, which occurs in Philadelphia. Remember, Philadelphia was the first capital of the United States. First capital of the United States, Philadelphia. So we have our founding fathers for the first time in a room together discussing what is going on throughout these colonies. Discussing what to do, where to go. And they discuss the repeal specifically of the Rentalo Act. They discuss the end of British military occupation. They want to end having British military in the room. They also want to have the powers to be able to enforce their own laws and tax themselves. So then this First Continental Congress meets, they leave, a couple months go by, and all of a sudden 1775 hits. We're getting the spring of 1775, and we have a little bit of an incident called Lexington Concord, which is often coined the beginning of the Revolutionary War. And we have a clash of the British militia and colonial militia at Lexington Concord, often phrased as the shot heard around the world. It's a small skirmish that breaks out, but while it breaks out, it is known that it is the beginning of war. Now we are in war. Now the Revolutionary War has begun. Now it is clear for what we are fighting for. And the Founding Fathers again come to meet in Philadelphia in 1775, late 1775, let's say this late August of 1775, to construct the beginnings of their new government, to construct an army, to construct and elect a leader, who was George Washington, elected at the Second Continental Congress. Start thinking about what documents do we need to draft, what things do we need to write to declare our own government.
Mr. Master,
Yes.
on the third one, on the final outcome, what did I say?
Township Act follows 2 years later. Yeah. And that gets us to 1775. Late 1775 was Second Continental Congress, like I said, in August, and that brings us to 1 year later, 1776. I would say June, late May, June of 1776, we have the drafting of the Declaration of Independence. And can we all open our books to page 42? 42. So we are at the year 1776. We have these events that occurred. You should have this down in your notes. You should kind of have an idea where we're at. Now we need a Declaration of Independence. Now we need to have a formal statement of us separating from the British. And the Declaration, as we go through it, can be broken down into 4 parts. We have our first paragraph. We've often heard the preamble. The beginning of the paragraph, the beginning of the document, just the first paragraph that deals with a run-on sentence, is coined the preamble. Then we have our second paragraph, which is a statement or a couple sentences on the rights of man. At that time, gender equality was not thrust into the spotlight. It was not a big deal. This is something it's also right up here. So you see rights of man, it should be rights of women and men. Also, you said Thomas Paine earlier, a couple classes ago, Cameron. Thomas Paine came out with a book in 1776 declaring that the United Colonies should make their own form of government and declare independence. Thomas Paine was also wildly known for writing a book called On the Rights of Man, and that was extremely touchy book in the sense of he really belittled women, and it is something that it often cast a shadow of doubt on his character. Huh? Remember when you said who named the United States? Thomas Paine. That's what I'm referencing. Thomas Paine also did some work that was not so great. He did some things that were not so, and that's why Thomas Paine is a hot and cold issue in a classroom, because there are good things that he did, but he also did some really bad things in the book on the rights of man. So we have the rights of man in this paragraph right here. Then we have third section, third part, the grievances file against the king. And then finally, the last couple paragraphs, separation from Britain. So let's go ahead and go through this document. The Declaration of Independence on page 43. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. Let's remember who wrote the declaration, which was who? Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, drafted it early summer, June-ish, late May-ish. Was adopted on July 4th, 1776. All right, first paragraph. When the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. That is our preamble. That is the beginning of the declaration. You take note, laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. That works hand in hand with what we were talking about with the state of nature, with Locke, Hobbes, and Rousseau. These founding fathers, are specifically Jefferson, are referencing that discussion we had in the beginning of the year on the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. So Jefferson's really coming out and saying that laws of nature and nature's God entitle them to a decent respect to the opinions of mankind, and requires that their causes should impel them, specifically the colonies, to separation. All right, now we're into the rights of man section, second paragraph. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for the light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing unveiledly the same object and vices are designed to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for the future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. And then we get into the different grievances against the king and the British Parliament. Big things to take away from that rights of man. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. So we have people, specifically individuals in the state of nature, stating that it is necessary to form governments out of these specific individuals, to give them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. So we have our rights of man, duties of a government, duties of individuals in a government in that paragraph. Then we get into our grievances. He has refused to respect the laws. He has forbidden the governors to pass laws to intimidate and pressing importance. Specifically, there's 27 grievances that is filed against the king and British Parliament. We have 27 different problems that the colonies have, 27 specific grievances. Grievance is another word for a problem against the British government. So moving on to our last section, statement of separation. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have only been answered, or have been answered only by repeating injury. A prince, whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant, is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. So we see specifically there, page 45, our founding fathers coming against the idea of having a monarch, coming against the idea of having a prince, coming against the idea of having a dictator. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of free people. Nor have we been waiting in attention to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislation to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their need of justice and magnanimity, and have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of contiguity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, and peace friends. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America and General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name, by the authority of good people of these colonies, solemnly and publish declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from any allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other things and acts which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of the divine providence, we mutually pledge to each of our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And then you have our signatures. That is the Declaration of Independence. Separated into 4 sections: preamble, rights of man, grievances against king, and statement of separation from the British, from Great Britain. It's important to note a couple things in the document. The references to God. There are a lot of references to the specific relationship between God and His reign that is pouring out now. But keep in mind that the different references to God, certain ideas in full effect at that time was one that they were taking on. A couple of influences that we've read about here. We talked about Prince and the time. One of the most our history, the most sprawled. It's good to read it from time to time, to go through it, to be aware of what is going on. On the rights of man, that was the common thing. You wrote it because of the time. It was specifically in contrast to Mary Wollstonecraft. I'll explain to you after that. Like Mary Wollstonecraft was another figure in the revolutionary time. All right, so we are going to move on to our group project. Group project. We're going to do probably 3 or 4 days, right? That's from Jack. project. Declaration of Independence dissection poster project. Your group is tasked, and I will go over who is in your group in a second. Your group is tasked with dissecting two parts of the Declaration of Independence. As they point some of the grade, you will find the rubric for necessary components for this project below.
Is this for this market period?
If we can get it done in this market period, yes, probably it will be. The Declaration can be found on pages 43 through 46 of our textbook. Each group also needs to turn in their own specific copy of the grading rubric and their partners. So first part, there needs to be 5 pieces of primary text from the Declaration of Independence. This includes any quoting of sentences or original text from the document. Each piece of primary text should have a 1 to 2 sentence explanation. So right here, this was in the rights of man section. When the laws of nature and of other natures, God entitled them. We talked about the state of nature. We talked about each philosopher's role and the idea of the individual in the state of nature. So you could explain this specific section of the Declaration by stating that the founding fathers reference back to the conversation in the state of nature. I'm just looking for a short explanation of whatever you choose to quote or whatever you choose to kind of single out. Second part, vocab words. 10 vocab words defined from the Declaration of Independence from pages 43 through 46. And if you look at this book, vocab section is right here. Vocab section is also right here. Vocab section, another one right here. All you have to get is 10 words and define them as a group. Pretty simple. Third part. Poster presentation should include the date of the Declaration was adopted. Title of the poster. So you should have a title. Names of Delaware signatures should be on there. Who are the 3 people from Delaware to sign the Declaration of Independence? You should have your name of group members, and you should have some artistic ability on the poster as well. There should be some creative artwork on there. Okay. Fourth part. For clear and effective presentation of your specific section of the Declaration and the inclusion of each group member, you will have to come up and present your poster in front of the class. Yes, that is happening. You can do it. It is 10 points. And finally, section 5, individual group grade. 10 points for your own specific help and role in the creation of the poster and completion of the review assessment. This is the review assessment. I'm going to pass it on. So you explain what they're saying with that piece of evidence. So give me something from the Declaration. Anything. You don't want to give me any part of it. You're right. And I'm going to sign it. So like Cameron, if you give the first paragraph, if you give the first couple words in the first paragraph, you're quoting what section of the Declaration? The preamble. And we have to know what exactly the preamble is in charge of. And that's what you would explain. I'm picking them for you. Because we get people who are left out when we pick our own. Everybody has to be included. Alright, so we ready for our group member pickings?
No.
Whoever is in your group, you need to write this down.
Trey. Me and Trey. That's it. I'll be picked with anyone else. As long as it's just your injury. Yeah, I'm better gonna get a group of dumb niggas. Please.
Alright, so we have Tevin and Roberto and Hunter and Ross. You guys are in one group. We have Ross, Hunter, Roberto, Tevin. Group 1. Group 2. Ross, Hunter, Roberto, and yourself. We have Tafoya.
Pardon the interruption. Before the switch to homeroom, I wanted to remind students, if you signed up to be a participant representing your house in this Friday flag football event, the final rosters have been distributed to the staff. There's also final rosters posted on the main office windows. We are asking each of those participants to report directly to the auditorium during homeroom. So if you are a flag football participant representing your house, we are asking you to report directly to the auditorium for a very brief informational meeting about the days ahead. Thank you.
All right, group 2 is Madeline, Norhan, Jeffrey Campbell, and Eric Tafoya. Group 2, Jeffrey Campbell, Eric Tafoya, Madeline Barton, and Norhan. All right. Group 3, we have Adrian. We have Bianca. We have Taekwon. And we have Hudson. Taekwon Hudson. Okay. So you guys are group 3. You know who's in your group. Group 4. We have Cameron. We have Catherine. We have, we'll go with Shire. And, and Brandon. So Cameron, Catherine, Brandon, Shire. Catherine is right here. Alright, group 5. We have Jasmine. We have Shelby. We have Heyman. And we have Chapman. Group 6. We have Tyler. We have Trey. We have Destiny. And we have, let's go, Stefan. Stefan is right next to you. So we have Tyler. We got Tyler, Stefan, Destiny, Trey. Group 7. We have Corey. We have Jaden. We have Renee. Oh, yeah, of course. What'd you say?
Oh, sorry.
There's someone I'm forgetting.
I got extra ones for the
Gene, you have Corey,
last 3 ones.
Renee, and one other person who is not here today. So everybody knows who's in their groups.
Yay.
Next class, we will be working on this.
We don't know. I wouldn't have cared if I was in a group with you and we were stuck with other people.
Was he like a junior?
Already coming to God. Already coming to
I don't even know. No, I forgot because I don't care. You better not be right now.
Man, I got fun with group with you. Can't throw this out for me?
Dude, you better not be.
Who's it?
You said I'm in a whole group with a bunch of guys.
No, that's not right.